With that, we bring in retired Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery. He served in the Navy for more than 30 years as a nuclear-trained surface warfare officer and has held many high-level positions within the United States Pacific Command and the European Command. Admiral Montgomery, it's good to have you with us, sir. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me what you see when you look at this massive deployment and movement to the region, and then also as you hear about the negotiation that President Trump is discussing right now.
Yeah, the Marines coming from Japan, which is the unit that is arriving in the next 24 to 48 hours, they make perfect sense to me. They could easily do a non-combatant evacuation operation if we needed to. You know, if one of our embassies became unstable or there was threats to American citizens abroad, perfect sense for that. I get a little more worried about seizing an island, particularly an island like Karg Island, well up the, where you have to go through the Straits of Hormuz and transit all the way up the Persian Gulf. That would be a significant military event, and a lot of threats would be posed to the naval forces escorting them, and then eventually the Marines. Same with the islands in the Straits, although I will say there's an island called Larak Island just south of Hormuz Island on your chart there. That's the island that's used to, quote, tax or toll ships coming through there. That could be an island that certainly we should destroy the Iranian equipment on it. And then, potentially, if you want to seize an island, that's one that's fairly farther away from the mainland and much more easier for us to project force into and protect.
Yeah, so it was interesting what President Trump had to say. And obviously, I know that you've said that there's no victory here without making sure that the Strait of Hormuz is an open and free passage for our ships and for, other ships from Europe and Southeast Asia who want to transit there. The president said they're giving us a gift. It's a prize, and it's very, very valuable. Your thoughts on what that might be, especially as you talk about these islands and the places that have control over this whole region of the Gulf?
In the op-ed I wrote, what I said basically was, look, if your strategic end state is not regime change, and apparently it's not because we're not working to do that, then it has to be changing how the regime operates, which we're doing. We're doing a great job removing their ballistic, drone, maritime threats. But you don't change how they operate if at the end of the day they control access to the Straits of Hormuz. Because if they do, our Arab, their Arab neighbors, our Arab partners, Israel and ourselves, will continue to be threatened by the Iranians. So I think at the end of the day, this has to be, we've rolled back all their military capability and capacity, and we control access to the Straits of Hormuz. Otherwise, this will be a short-term Pyrrhic victory for the United States.
I just have about 20 seconds, but you also said that it would be a big mistake to end the military operations too soon.
Exactly. If you want to open up the Straits of Hormuz, we need to take the attacks particularly against the maritime and the mines and drones to their natural conclusion, which is about 2 weeks.
All right. Fascinating. I hope you can join us again, Rear Admiral Mark Montgomery. Very good to have you here, sir. Thank you, Admiral.